This is Chapter 5 review. Chapter 5 discusses the integumentary system, which is the first of 11 organ systems we will study in this class. The integumentary system consists of the cutaneous membrane, or skin, and its accessory structures. The cutaneous membrane is made up of the epidermis and the dermis. The epidermis is the more superficial layer made up of stratified squamous cells called keratinocytes. These keratinocytes are arranged in layers. Starting from the basement membrane, there is a stratum basale where stem cells and melanocytes are. The stem cells produce daughter cells that are pushed up into the stratum spinosum layer where the cells lose cytoplasm and become spiny. Cells are still dividing in the stratum spinosum layer. Then cells are pushed up into the stratum granulosum layer where keratin is produced, giving the cells a grainy appearance, and the cells dehydrate and die and create tightly interlocked layers of keratin. In thick skin, there is an additional layer of these cells found in the stratum lucidum. Thick skin is only on the palms of the hand and the soles of the feet. The most superficial layer is the stratum corneum, that is the exposed surface of the skin. This stratum corneum contains 15 to 30 layers of keratinized cells that are water resistant. These cells are shed and replaced every 2 weeks from the layers below. Keratinization is the process the cells take from the stratum basale to the stratum corneum. It is basically the skin life cycle. It takes 2 weeks to a month for the cells to move to the surface from the stratum basale. Fingerprints are due to the epidermal ridges of the stratum basale in thick skin. Sensible perspiration is basically sweating. The sweat glands release water to try to cool the body. Insensible perspiration occurs when the interstitial fluid is lost from the body. This can occur when there is damage to the stratum corneum, like a paper cut, a burn, or blisters. Burns can cause dehydration. Dehydration can also be caused by a person being in salt water, as water will move out of the skin cells and into the hypertonic seawater. Conversely, hydration occurs when the body is in a hypotonic solution like bath water or fresh water. Hydration will cause swelling of the epithelial cells, especially on the hands and feet. Skin color is influenced by keratin and melanin, and also blood circulation from the red blood cells. Keratin is an orange-yellow pigment found in orange vegetables and accumulates in the epidermal cells. Melanin is a brown pigment that is produced by the melanocytes that are in the cells of the stratum basale. Melanin protects the DNA in the nucleus from DNA damage. The more melanin there is, the more protection. Skin color is determined by how fast the melanocytes produce melanin and not by how many melanocytes there are. In fair-skinned people, an increased blood supply to the skin will cause their skin to look pink. A severe reduction in blood flow or oxygenation can cause cyanosis, that is a bluish tint, particularly around the lips and the fingers. Jaundice is a condition of the liver that causes the skin to turn yellow, especially in the whites of the eye. Diseases of the pituitary gland can cause the skin to become unusually dark. Vitiligo is a loss of color in patches of skin caused by a loss of melanocytes. Vitamin D3 is produced in the epidermis when sunlight hits the skin. The liver and kidneys will convert vitamin D3 into calcitriol, a hormone that increases the absorption of the calcium you ingest into your body. Insufficient vitamin D3 can cause a condition called rickets, that is a softening and deformity of bone. The dermis is the layer of skin beneath the epidermis. It anchors epidermal accessory structures such as hair follicles and sweat glands. The dermis has two components, the more superficial papillary layer and the deep reticular layer. The papillary layer consists of areolar tissue and contains smaller blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatics. The dermal papillae project between the epidermal ridges. The reticular layer consists of dense irregular connective tissue and contains larger blood vessels, nerves, and lymphatic vessels. It also contains collagen and elastic fibers that give the skin strength and stretch. Skin turgor is the ability of the skin to stretch and then recoil back to its original shape. Pinching the skin in a person who is well hydrated will show that the skin returns to its normal shape. Pinching the skin in a person who is dehydrated will show that the skin remains pinched, and this person is considered to have poor skin turgor. Damage to the dermis can cause sagging and wrinkles that occur with dehydration, age, hormonal changes, and UV exposure. Stretch marks are areas of thickened dermal tissue from excessive stretching of skin that can be due to weight gain during puberty, pregnancy, or obesity. Cleavage lines are the arrangement of collagen and elastic fibers in the dermis into parallel bundles. Cleavage lines resist force in specific directions. If a cut is made parallel to the cleavage line, it will heal well with little to no scarring. If a cut is made at a right angle to the cleavage line, it won't heal well and may open up and will scar. The hypodermis lies below the integument and allow for separate movement between the skin and the deeper structures of the body, such as muscles. The hypodermis is also called the subcutaneous layer. The hypodermis contains very few capillaries and no vital organs. It is made of areolar tissue and adipose tissues and contains elastic fibers. This is the site of subcutaneous injections using hypodermic needles. The distribution of fat in the hypodermis is determined by hormones and age. Accessory structures of the integumentary system are the hair, hair follicles, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, and nails. These are all located in the dermis and may project through the skin surface. The human body is covered with hair except on the palms, soles, lips, and portions of the external genitalia. The hair protects and insulates the body and guards openings against particles and insects and is sensitive to very light touch, another protective mechanism. The hair follicle is located deep in the dermis and produces non-living hairs that are wrapped in a dense connective tissue. The hair is made of a root, that is the lower part of the hair and attached to the skin, and the shaft is the upper part of the hair that is not attached to the skin. The hair papillae contains capillaries and nerves to aid in the production of hair. Hair production begins at the base of the hair follicle deep in the dermis and the hair bulb. The cells of the hair bulb produce the hair matrix that push the growing hair up and out of the skin. The hair has a central core called the medulla, a middle layer called the cortex, and a surface layer called the cuticle. As the hair is produced, it is keratinized. The medulla contains a soft, flexible keratin, and the cortex and cuticle contain a stiff, hard keratin. An active follicle contains club hair that is no longer growing. When the follicle becomes active, it will produce new hair, and the club hair will fall out. There are different types of hair on the body. Vellus hairs are soft and fine and cover the entire body. Terminal hairs are heavy and very pigmented and cover the head, eyebrows, eyelashes, and after puberty cover the axillary region, pubic region, and the male's face. Hair color is produced by melanocytes at the hair papilla and is determined by genes. The Arrector pili muscles are involuntary smooth muscles that cause the hair to stand up and produce goosebumps. The sebaceous glands are holocrine glands that secrete sebum, which lubricates the hair to control bacteria. If the duct of the sebaceous gland empties into the hair follicle, it is called a sebaceous gland. If the duct of the sebaceous gland empties directly onto the skin surface, it is called a sebaceous follicle. The sweat glands can be either apocrine glands or merocrine glands. The apocrine glands are found in the armpits and around the nipple and groin. They produce a sticky, cloudy sweat and break down to cause odors. They will secrete due to nerves or hormones. The merocrine glands are more widely distributed on the body, especially on the palms and soles. They produce sensible perspiration with a watery fluid that contains salts and organic compounds. Merocrine glands cool the skin, excrete water and electrolytes, and flush microorganisms and harmful chemicals from the skin. Merocrine glands are closer to the surface of the skin than apocrine glands. Special integumentary glands include mammary glands and ceruminous glands. Mammary glands produce milk in lactating females. Ceruminous glands produce cerumen or earwax to protect the eardrum. Fingernails and toenails are dead cells packed with keratin that help to protect the fingers and the toes. Metabolic disorders can change the nail structure, so health professionals look at nail structure when performing an exam. Nail production occurs in an area deep in the epidermis near the bone called the nail root. The nail body is the visible portion of the nail. The skin under the free edge of the nail is the hyponychium. The visible nail emerges from the eponychium or cuticle at the tip. After a cut occurs in the skin, several steps take place to repair the integument. First, bleeding begins and mast cells are brought to the area that triggers the inflammatory response. After several hours, a scab is formed and cells of the stratum basale migrate along the cut edges of the wound. Phagocytic cells remove debris. 1 week after injury, the epidermal cells have migrated over the entire cut edge and the scab begins breaking down. Phagocytes are almost finished and fibroblasts begin producing new tissue to replace the open areas. After several weeks, the scab is shed and the epidermis is complete. A shallow depression remains until fibroblasts create enough scar tissue to elevate the epidermis. A raised keloid may form that gradually disappears over years. This ends Chapter 5 review.